Hello everybody, Joel Logan with a Hole in the Ground Terrain here, and I have just spent 13 hours of my life building this beautiful model that Fat Dragon Games just came out with here in January of 2012. This is called the Ultimate Dice Tower 2. Really great model. Appearance wise, I believe is the best thing of it. But anyway, I'm going to go through fairly long build video, so please be aware if you start watching it. This might be a long video, but I'm going to go through it. I don't want to say step by step, but all of the major steps. Now I'm not going to bore you with me scoring and cutting, but I went through step by step how you build this great model. And toward the end, I'll let you know what problems I ran into. I did run into some problems building it. I want to share those experiences with you so you don't mess up like I did. And at the end, I tell you what I like about it, what I don't. But overall, it's something you're going to want to build, and something I think you're going to be very happy with and keep in your collection and take to your RPGs and use in your local maybe wargaming too. Anyway, stay tuned. Apologize for the long video. Very complicated build. You're looking at about 13 hours. And the build video is not 13 hours. I've abbreviated it. But it spans 13 hours worth of work. Thanks and God bless. Hello everybody. Wanted to start my build video on the Ultimate Dice Tower 2. And boy, I will tell you, this thing is big. I'm counting a total of 23 sheets. This one is doubled up. And tried to lay it out on one of my tables here so you could see it. But you can see all the pieces of the dragon. This is a dice tower with a dragon on the top. Check out the wings, the bases. Goodness, there's just all sorts of stuff. But anyway, wanted to film all the sheets laid out for you. A total of 23 sheets, if I didn't miss any. And we'll start the build soon. Thanks. Alright everybody, the thing the instructions want us to do first is to test fold the die chute pieces, which are labeled T1, T2, and T3, and then glue the T2 interior brace to the middle interior of T1. So let's start by getting this scored and cut out. Alright guys, so working on these first little pieces, and I already messed up. I put the T2 braces here and I had to pull them back, put them there so this can fold over. But not going to completely film every part of building this, or this video would probably be 5 hours long. But anyway, here's your little brace pieces. Here's your T1 piece. And what you're essentially making when it's all folded together is a piece that's going to look like this. And then you got a lip that T3 is going to go on. But anyway, it does matter where you put it, because this is going to fold over. And these right here are going to have to glue to the top. So I left this one off to show you. And of course this one's going to go this way and make a solid piece on both sides. So I'm going to skip on to the next part. And we'll have T1, 2, and 3 finished here in just a second. Alright guys, this is T1, 2, and 3 done. Got the piece on. Now one thing I want to note, there is a texture line up here, so you can put this top T3 piece on wrong. But this is T1, 2, and 3. The instructions call for G and H. Now I've wrote on here just for the purpose of the video. But all you got to do is score these two pieces. They're pretty much identical. And cut them out, glue them together, about to glue them together. I found with flat surfaces, sometimes it's better to use a glue stick because it doesn't have as much water in it. And it doesn't bulge as much with a hot glue gun, even though I still use that a lot too. So we're going to glue these two pieces together and on to the next step. Alright guys, the next thing it calls for is piece F1. We're going to just fold it into a little box. So going to do that and show it to you in just a second. And once we fold it, we're just going to set it aside and move on, I believe, to some of the dice ramp. Alright guys, here's F1 put together. I'll set it to the side for now. And now the instructions want us to put 2 of J1 together. Now we'll note, unless I messed up, this is the only sheet I had to print twice. These are the die chutes. I said ramp earlier, but I think Fat Dragon Tom calls them die chutes. So I'm going to score these out, cut them out, and we're going to glue them together. Like I said, it requires 2 of them. Hello everybody, got the 2 J1 pieces put together. Look like this. They're identical. Going to move on to the next step, which is supposed to be I1, the main framework for the interior assembly. And we'll get that put together and show you what that looks like next. Hello everybody, piece I1 basically forms the box and frame for it. And the instructions say now to put pieces G and H to it, which we're going to glue to, and it'll kind of look something like this. So we're going to glue that on, and then we're going to glue some of the J pieces and the T piece on. So we'll do it a little bit at a time. Right everybody, here is G and H glued onto I. Now I almost had a tragic mishap. Make sure the flap glues on the outside and not inside. So this is G, H, and I together, and we're about to start gluing the J pieces and I believe the T piece we did earlier. So hang on just a second and we'll get that done. Alright, here is the J pieces glued to the main box that is now I, G, I believe, and H. Now I'm about to have to squeeze the T in there, and I've already been playing with it, so I know it's going to be pretty tight. But glue to these sides, glue these to the sides, and I'm going to squeeze this in, see if I can get it to fit up, and glue in and show you what it looks like. Right everybody, here is the T piece glued in, and you can already see the dice tower starting to form. I guess the dice is going to hit here and choose which chute to come down. We're on about page 6 out of 21 of the instructions, and we're going to keep chug-a-lugging along. I think we got the big round base piece to do next. Alright guys, I've got F1 glued in, and the instructions is telling me to take F2 and put it in like this. And I'm going to get that done and show you what that looks like here in just a second. Alright everybody, I got piece F2 glued on. Got a little bit of a wrinkle in it trying to work out here. Of course, my models are never perfect. And I believe now that we've got this whole thing put together, I guess you could call this the bottom base. The next part of the instructions has us moving on to the mountain, which I'm the most anxious about, because it certainly looks like the hardest part of the model. But here's what it looks like so far. I think we're on around page 7 out of 21. Right everybody, I just got through scoring pieces Q and R, and boy does my wrist hurt right here. I think I need an Advil. Now I got to cut these suckers out. One of the special warnings in the instructions says when I cut it out on the side tabs, not to cut it straight but to cut it jagged. I think this is going to affect the appearance, how the two glue together. But anyway, oh gosh, I got to cut these things out. A lot of cuts here. Imagine this is going to take a good bit of time. That's why I said the mountain pieces look very hard. But I got them scored Q and R, and I'm going to get them cut out and try to start putting them together. Then we'll film that. Hello everybody. Oh, after a lot of cutting, got Q and R cut out. Scored it first, and instructions tell me to go ahead and glue the front together where the 2 dice ejection chutes are. And the next thing I'm going to do is glue the rear together. And then I believe the next step, we're going to look in the instructions, is to insert this into the glued together piece. So we'll take a look at that. Notice there's some little colors here for lining it up, the red and the blue, and the green, which indicates the front. Notice we got a red dot here and a blue dot here and here, and I believe we got just one red there. So we'll check that out here in a minute, get some things glued together. Alright guys, here's the assembled mountain. About to work on the next piece that's going to go inside. Hello everybody, I've got the inner ring right here glued in, and follow the instructions. Line the blue dots up, red dots, and you can't see it as well now, but I made sure the green arrow was exactly halfway in between the two tabs. And don't know if it's perfect, but it's looking pretty good. And we're going to move on to the next step, which I believe is working on scoring M1 and M2 together. Looks like a lot of work, so we're going to get started on that. And I believe M1 and M2 is going to insert inside of this and be the inside of the mountain. So let's get started on that and check that out here in just a minute. Alright everybody, this top piece is M1 and M2 scored, glued together, and the instructions told me to go ahead and black out the top lip. Now, went ahead and just skipped ahead a little bit to save some time. M1 pushes through the bottom or the base of the mountain, and we're going to glue all of this down, and we'll leave it poking out. And my guess looking ahead is we're going to wrap it around with some more mountain pieces. So going to get this glued in real good, and then we're going to go to the next part. Alright guys, I've got N and O scored and cut and glued together. I tried to make the edges a little wavy like the instructions said, and blacked that out. And the next thing I got to do is figure out how to glue these together. Now, Tom, Fat Dragon Tom, of course, blue goes on blue and red's going to go on red, so I'm going to need to flatten these and glue it all together and try to make it pretty and not have too many seams. So that'll be about the next step, and we'll go on from there. Alright, top piece is glued in. Having a little problem here with it being bent, but maybe I can smooth that out and touch it up before it's over with. I believe the next part is we're going to be gluing it to here and putting it together. Alright guys, if we were to stop now, we would have a functional dice tower, but we've got everything finished in the first little part, and we've got the mountain basically finished. And the next steps in the instructions tell us to cut and score pieces U2 and V2. And what we're going to start doing, before I got those cut and scored, is I believe we're going to start forming the base around this. So going to stop the camera, get those glued together, and we're going to slowly move through. We're on page 12 of 21. Alright, we've got pieces V2 and U2 glued together, and the instructions want us to glue V1 and U1 to the back. So what we're doing is making the front and rear edges of the base that's going to go around it. And once we get these two pieces glued on, it wants us to cut a jagged edge. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this on, and then cut a jagged edge kind of to make it look more like a natural rock formation. And I'm going to skip ahead and show you what that looks like. Alright everybody, so I've got the U's and the V's glued together, and using my scissors, the instructions say to trim approximately half. So as you can see, I cut it in half, tried to keep it pretty jagged looking, so it would look jaggedy and like rocks. You know, I didn't want to go too straight, so tried to do some random things there. And the next part of the instructions is telling us we've got to cut piece K1 out, which is the long base, and then it tells us to glue this around. So the next thing I'm going to show you, I'm going to cut this out with my scissors, and I'm going to glue this starting in the front, and it's going to glue around like that. So that'll be the next thing I show you. Alright everybody, got the bottom base done, Got everything glued on. And the next step is to glue this on, and then the instructions tell us as an option, but we're going to do it anyhow. We need to find a solid base to glue this on. I learned this from the Ultimate Dice Tower 1, which I hope to make some more of because I don't have one. I give mine away. So we're going to come up with a base, and we're going to glue these two together, then come up with a base. Thinking about using some foam mylar or foam core board. Hadn't made up my mind, but either way, we want to do that because that's going to really strengthen the model up. And the next step you should see is these two pieces glued together and then on some type of base for stability. Alright everybody, we are 6.5 hours into this build. The mountain is glued onto the base, and what I did, I got plenty of foam core board, but as many of you know, I use a lot of foam mylar. So with the help of my oldest son, we took a board of 2-inch foam mylar and cut out a little base, just a little bit bigger than the base. And what I plan to do next with my sculpting tool is I'm going to sculpt down, and where it's not so rigid, but sculpt this down so I got some swooping smoother pieces. And then I believe I'm going to paint it dark brown, dry brush some tan, try to match this color scheme a little bit. And then I think we'll start on the dragon, which is the next part. Kind of anxious about doing that. It looks pretty hard. But like I said, filming slows me down a little bit. But right now we are on, I guess about page 14. And I think the next step is we have the upper chute divider, which installs in here. And so we got to do that. That'll be the last component of the mountain besides the dragon. But like I said, I'm going to do a little bit of work on this, and I'll show you what that looks like in a little while. But the next step, I think I'm going to film probably be the upper chute divider, and then we'll go on from there. Oh everybody, I skipped a step before we do the upper dice divider. There's actually some lava pieces you put in to help cover up the seams here, and you got to put them in just right because they match and seam up themselves, but this really does help cover the seams. So the next thing I do before we tackle the upper dice divider is we're going to get these glued in place, and that really does help cover the seams. So sorry I forgot that. Let me get that glued, and then we'll move on to the upper dice divider. Alright everybody, now that I covered the step that I skipped, we're going to be making this piece here that is going to insert through the top, and the instructions say we don't even have to glue it. This is piece C3, and then we're going to be putting some of the W pieces in the side to strengthen it up. So looks like this notch here, this is going to go, you can see it on that notch there. So they are basically going to just snap together. And so we got to put the sides in it though and reinforce it. So I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to glue both sides into this, strengthen it up, pop it in, and there's also a little piece that goes on the top here. And there is a right and wrong way to put this top piece on because it's textured to match that top. Alright, the first part of the dragon we're supposed to do is part D1, which is this, and it's simply going to fold in half. We're going to glue it together and then carefully cut it out. So going to skip ahead because I know that'll take a few minutes. Alright everybody, we got the first two parts of the dragon done. This is D1. It's just simply two pieces that glue as I showed you earlier, and together. Then I went ahead and trimmed it up with some black. The next part of the instructions I went ahead and did, The dragon's legs, it was in 4 total pieces. You just cut them out and glue them together. And make sure you don't cut off the tabs here. And you should make sure the tabs are that way. They're going to glue a little bit later onto the torso. So the next part of the instructions we're going to move on to is A2 and B2, which creates the main dragon body. And we're going to do that in just a moment. Alright everybody, it took a good bit of cutting and scoring, but this is the main body of the dragon. And notice all the tabs fold outwards. The instructions suggest starting by just gluing the center and making everything match up perfect and letting it dry, then moving up this way and this way gluing. So the next step you'll see is this completely glued together and touched up. So we're going to skip ahead to that. Alright everybody, the main part of the body is touched up, and the next step is to very carefully bend and glue this thing upwards just like this. So we're going to very carefully start on that and show you what that looks like when we get through with it. Okay, everybody, we got the main body glued together. The next step we're going to do, see them over here, we're going to glue the wings together. And the instructions say after you glue them to score it here so it can fold. And then we're going to glue the legs on, then we're going to glue the wings on. So the next thing you'll see will be the wings glued together, and we're going to go ahead and pop the legs on right here. We're going to glue them. Right everybody, I went ahead just for the sake of time, and we got the main body here. Glued the legs on each side and took the wings, glued them on each side. And the next part is to assemble the head, which looks pretty darn complicated, and of course glue it on right here. I believe after that we're looking at gluing this onto the main model. Alright, working on the head here, and scored the head out, glued it to this piece here, and I destroyed the first head I worked on. Just sheared it right in half. Luckily I had a second copy printed. So be careful, this piece is fragile. The second time I scored it out, or cut it out with my knife instead of a pair of scissors, and I very gently scored it at the nose. Alright, so got this cut out, and the next part of the instructions is to glue this on to the main body. Then we're going to try to glue the dragon onto the mountain, and we'll be a little bit closer to being finished. Alright, dragon head is on, and the dragon's ready to go on his mountain. Right guys, the dragon is on. Been testing out the dice tower, and if I hadn't put a 2-inch piece of foamular on, I'd really be done, maybe except for some touch up. Really nice dice tower. One thing I've been having to work on, and I think I'm getting closer to solving the problem, keep having some dice getting stuck right here, and I can feel a bad seam, so I've been working on it with a file. And I think I'm making some headway. It don't seem to be getting stuck. D6s seem to get stuck worse than anything, but the past few rolls looks like it's been getting better. Gonna film one more time when I finish up the heavy duty base I put on, and a little more touch up. And let me see if I can figure out how much time I've got in this. And I'm wanting to say I've got about 11 hours Yeah, probably 11 hours into this project. I know the filming is slowing me down, but it is a pretty complex build, and what you're looking at right now is 11 hours over 2 days time. Hello friends, after 13 hours I have completed the Ultimate Dice Tower 2, and really happy with how it turned out. Like I said, this will be the final video. Let's roll some more dice. I think I've solved most of my issues with the dice not coming out right. And you may have to do this as well. You may have to do a little bit of filing if your ramps aren't totally smooth. Let's go through some quick drawbacks of this one. Or let's start with what I like about it best. Compared to the Ultimate Dice Tower 1, I think it's got it beat in looks. Yeah, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit and show you some looks here. Very unique looking, very cool looking tower. Some people got on me, said I can't call things cool. But the design wise, never seen nothing quite like it. It's really neat. I embellished it some. I put some rocks on it to give it a more three-dimensional effect. Got a little bit of rocks here coming out of the lava. Like I said, I put a 2-inch foamular base on it, which made it a whole lot sturdier. Did a lot of carving on it with my hot wire foam knife, or sculpting tool I mean. But it looks very nice. So looks, appearance wise, this is a great piece. It rolls fairly well, and it's an impressive looking model. So I know I've repeated myself, but it looks very nice. The only bad thing I can say about it, it seems to me that you can't roll as many dice as you can with Ultimate Dice Tower 1. And I believe I like the Ultimate Dice Tower 1 better in the way that it rolls. I like this one better in the way that it looks. But from a functional standpoint, I like the first one that Fat Dragon Tom made. But I love this model. It's a piece that your friends are going to say, wow, I wish I had one of those. I just don't think you can roll as many dice at a time as you can with Ultimate Dice Tower 1. For example, if you just roll a lot of them, they're kind of like a traffic jam on an interstate highway. They're just going to back up in here. Where with Ultimate Dice Tower 1, there's 2 sideways chutes for it to come out. As long as you're not rolling like 50 dice at a time, I think you're going to be happy with this. If you're using it for RPG and you're just rolling 1 or 2 dice, no problem. If you're going to roll 4 or 5, no problem. But you start rolling 10 or more dice at a time, they're not all going to come out. But like I said, this is a great, unique piece. You need to build you one of these. Like I said, I've got 13 hours of my life in this model, and I don't regret those 13 hours, but I'm just saying it took a while. Now me filming definitely added time to it. I timed myself doing the Ultimate Dice Tower 1, and it was a 4-hour build. This one took me about 13. I had some problems with the head. Like I showed you earlier, I busted a head, and I've had some problems with the model not being flush. But I've worked on that, and I've had issues with one of my ramps not being smooth and dice getting hung. I've solved that issue. So those are a few of the issues I've run into. But overall, great model. I can't say that I plan on building 5 or 6 more of these. But I built it, and I love it, and I'm going to keep it and use it for my games. And Fat Dragon Tom, thanks for making a beautiful dice tower, and I encourage everybody out there, if you go to RPG Now or drive through RPG, I believe this model full price is somewhere between $7 and $8. You can't go wrong for the price. Great model. Build you one. I think you'll definitely enjoy it and be something you keep for years. Anyway, thanks and God bless, and please subscribe, and look forward to seeing you in future videos.